The Screen News Digest, presented by South Carolina Electric and Gas Company. We try to make life easier.
A Missouri farm boy, overcoming poor eyesight to become a good student, and serving with distinction as a captain in the field artillery during World War I. After the armistice, when his clothing store goes bankrupt, he works for years to pay off his creditors. Then he enters Missouri politics and in 1934 is elected to the U.S. Senate. During World War II, he wins widespread respect as head of a Senate committee investigating defense production. And in 1944, at 60 years of age, he is elected Vice President of the United States, a heartbeat away from the most powerful office in the free world. (1945), Harry Truman, wife Bess, and daughter Margaret arrive at the White House on January 20th for his inauguration as Vice President. The big three of World War II, President Roosevelt of America, Prime Minister Churchill of Great Britain, and Premier Stalin of Russia, meet in February at Yalta to plan for peace in post-war Europe. Roosevelt is in failing health. FDR and his vice president meet just once during the first 3 months of 1945. Then, on vacation in Warm Springs, Georgia, America's only four-term president dies on April 12th. The fateful news is flashed around the world.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin from CBS World News. A press association has just announced that President Roosevelt is dead.
I, Harry S. Truman, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office.
When Franklin Roosevelt died, I felt there must be 1 million men better qualified than I to take up the presidential task. But the work was mine to do, and I had to do it, and I've tried to give it everything that is in me.
Nazi Germany is in its death agony. On May 8th, surrender comes. The ruins of the Third German Reich are grim reminders of the reconstruction ahead, as another Big Three conference to coordinate the final assault on Japan is held in July in Potsdam, Germany. Here, Truman receives a cryptic message. The baby is born. America has tested the world's first atomic bomb. From Potsdam, an ultimatum to Japan. Unconditional surrender or prompt and utter destruction. Millions of leaflets fall on the island empire. Gathered like propaganda souvenirs, their warning is ignored. Truman acts. The Enola Gay, an American bomber named after the pilot's mother, takes off from a Pacific airstrip on August 6th. The lives of American fighting men are the president's concern, but as years pass, historians will question America's use of the atomic bomb.
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. It is an atomic bomb. It is a harnessing of the basic power of the universe. We have used it in order to shorten the agony of war, in order to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans. We shall continue to use it until we completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
August 9th, an atomic bomb is dropped on Nagasaki. Total casualties in the two attacks, more than 150,000 killed. A week and a day after Hiroshima, Japan surrendered. America celebrates, but soon there will be new crises on the home front. In 1946, a national railroad strike provides Harry Truman with the opportunity to demonstrate that he can be as decisive and forceful in dealing with domestic affairs as he was during wartime.
I request the Congress immediately to authorize the President to draft into the armed forces of the United States all workers who are on strike against their government. Word has just been received that the rail strike has been settled on terms proposed by the President.
In the post-war years, refugees flee westward as communism engulfs Eastern Europe. Truman and George Marshall, his Secretary of State, respond. The Truman Doctrine pledges U.S. support to keep Greece and Turkey free. And the Marshall Plan of economic aid prevents further communist expansion in Western Europe. In 1948, Berlin becomes a pawn in the Cold War. East Germany blockades the city. The Berlin Airlift. Truman acts again. A city of 2.5 million people is sustained completely by American and Allied transport planes that land every 3 minutes, day and night. For a year, food and supplies flow into Berlin, millions and millions of tons. A miracle of the air age. Finally, the barricades go up. Traffic flows again to and from the city. The free world has won a great Cold War victory. At home, Truman comes to grips with another explosive issue. Earlier, by executive order, he had ended segregation in the armed forces. Now civil rights become a presidential crusade. There is no justifiable reason, he says, for discrimination because of ancestry, religion, race, or color. Southern delegates react angrily at the Democratic National Convention in 1948. 35 walk out. In a divisive, stormy session, Democrats pick their team, Truman and Barclay. Thomas E. Dewey, the Republican candidate, is considered a shoo-in. Rebellious Democrats have formed a states' rights party and nominated J. Strom Thurmond for president. Henry Wallace, who served as vice president during Roosevelt's third term, is chosen to run on the Progressive Party ticket, further splintering the divided Democrats. 1948 is the last of the great whistle-stop campaigns, with candidates crisscrossing America by train in search of votes. Harry Truman is a master campaigner. Crowds are enthusiastic. I've got to give them a show, he says, before they'll give me their votes. Despite the president's popular appeal, veteran political experts say that Thomas E. Dewey will be elected in a landslide. Not so. Truman scores one of the greatest upsets in U.S. political history. A surprise for millions of Americans, but not for Harry S. Truman.
Right here on the 19th of February, 1948, and told you we were looking at the next president. Well,
June 24th, 1950. Communist forces stream out of North Korea and across the 38th parallel in an attempt to unite Korea by force. After a White House meeting, the President and Dean Acheson, his Secretary of State, termed the invasion a threat to peace. The UN Security Council meets in emergency session. Russia is absent and unable to veto a resolution authorizing troops and supplies for the defense of South Korea. GIs land again on foreign soil. General MacArthur is named commander of all UN forces and launches a brilliant counterattack. Truman praises MacArthur.
It is fortunate for the world that we had the right man for this purpose, a man who is a very great soldier, General Douglas MacArthur.
But soon the general and the president come into conflict. MacArthur makes military decisions involving political issues without receiving approval from Washington. He sends UN troops across the 38th parallel into North Korea. Flying to Wake Island in October 1950, the president emphasizes the threat of Red Chinese involvement and the possibility that the Korean conflict may escalate into a third world war. Meeting privately with Truman, MacArthur predicts victory by year's end. He doubts Red Chinese intervention. The general is wrong. On November 26th, 200,000 so-called communist volunteers attacked from across the Manchurian border. American troops are overwhelmed and forced to retreat. The snow-swept slopes of North Korea become a modern-day Valley Forge. In April 1951, Truman fires MacArthur. Civilian control of the military is reaffirmed as the president explains his action.
The question we have had to face is whether the communist plan of conquest can be stopped without a general war. Our government and other countries associated with us in the United Nations believe that the best chance of stopping it without a general war is to meet the attack in Korea and defeat it there. A number of events have made it evident that General MacArthur did not agree with that policy. I have therefore considered it essential to relieve General MacArthur so that there would be no doubt or confusion as to the real purpose and aim of our policy. It was with the deepest personal regret that I found myself compelled to take this action. General MacArthur is one of our greatest military commanders, but the cause of world peace is much more important than any individual.
In July 1951, Korean peace talks begin at Panmunjom. They continue as casualties mount and President Truman's term of office runs out. We like Ike, Americans say in 1952, and Republican Dwight Eisenhower defeats Democrat Adlai Stevenson to succeed Truman as president. The Truman years are history, but the father, husband, president has left his mark on his country. He has walked with kings, yet never lost the common touch. In perspective, historians rank him among America's 10 greatest presidents. Always good copy, Harry Truman comes to be called everybody's president. The nation has taken the first family to its heart, and as he leaves the White House in January 1953, Harry Truman shares with his countrymen some final, personal thoughts and hopes.
In speaking to you tonight, I have no new revelations to make. No political statements, no policy announcements. There are simply a few things in my heart I want to say to you. I want to say goodbye and thanks for your help. The president is required to put in long hours, usually 17 hours a day, with no payment for overtime. I sign my name on the average of 600 times a day and see and talk to hundreds of people every month, shake hands with thousands every year, and still carry on the business of the largest going concern in the world. Regardless of your politics, whether you are Republican or Democrat, your fate is tied up with what is done here in this room. The president is president of the whole country. So as I empty the drawers of this desk, and as Mrs. Truman and I leave the White House, we have no regret. We feel we have done our best in the public service. I hope and believe we have contributed to the welfare of the nation and to the peace of the world. And now the time has come for me to say good night and God bless you.
The Screen News Digest is presented to help you see where the world is going by the same people who help you see where you're going. South Carolina Electric and Gas Company. We try to make life easier.